feel it wrapped around your soul.
We're back with another round of one of my most funnest project pans. This has definitely grown to be one of my most funnest project pans, if not my most favorite. This is Throwing Shade Update 10, Round 11.
I'll run, I'll hide. Darkness always clouds my mind.
Absolutely love this project, and it is always so fun to sit down and film these updates. And if you want to see what 3 new palettes will be picked for this month, then just make sure to keep on watching. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys subscribe. I put out new content 2 to 3 times a week, so you don't want to miss out on all the fun. Also, make sure to check the down bar for all my other links to all my other social media platforms. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop on into the video. Back on this project, I decided to start the No Pan Left Behind challenge in conjunction with my Throwing Shade project pan. The No Pan Left Behind challenge is where I am basically trying to use every pan in every palette that is chosen for this project. My official start date on Throwing Shade is September 25th of 2019, and it is ongoing until I have cycled through my entire eyeshadow palette collection, which my total palette count is currently at 159 palettes, so we definitely have a ways to go. And especially since restarting this over with the No Pan Left Behind challenge, I am currently at 15 palettes I have used so far. So my total pan count is 2,352 pans of eyeshadow. So far for No Pan Left Behind, I have used 180 pans of eyeshadow, leaving me 2,172 pans left to use, which is still a lot of eyeshadow. And it has just been a really fun project. Of course, I'll have the playlist to this project in the cards if you guys want to go see any of the other previous updates. I kind of go in and explain a little better in detail about what No Pan Left Behind consists of. So for round 9, I had the 3 palettes that I had in. I had a total of 37 pans, and I have used 30 out of the 37 pans. This is the first update where I wasn't able to use all of the pans in for that round, which that's okay. You'll have those rounds where you're not going to be able to use them all, which I have been doing rather well at using every pan in every palette thus far for this challenge. And that's still not the end of the challenge yet. I'm still going to try to sit out and make it a point to, in fact, use those last 7 shades, as well as the 4th week of the project where you use all 3 palettes combined to create a look with. So if I do, of course, it'll pop up on the screen and let you guys know that I did, in fact, use the remaining 7 pans that were left in my week 3 palette. So either way, 2,172 pans left to use is still a long way to go. So even if I have 7 that I didn't use, 30 out of the 37 is not bad at all. I will gladly take it. This is the first month where I wasn't able to successfully use every pan. And the reason is I have recently started a new job where I'm working 4 10-hour days and I have 3 days off. So if my uploading is less frequent than it already was, I am so sorry. I apologize immensely, and I really just hope that you guys stick around and I don't lose a lot of subscribers over my inability to be able to upload content as frequently as I once used to. It is a tough schedule to try to adjust and get used to, and it has definitely taken up most of my time. Let's go ahead and get into it. For the first week of round 9, I was randomly selected my BH Cosmetics Hanging in Hawaii palette, and this is just a really beautiful, neutral, everyday type of palette. Very warm tone, very, very beautiful. And of course, I will insert some looks showing you all of the looks that I have done with this palette, and I did in fact use every pan in here for no pan left behind, which is really cool. I'm glad I was able to use every one of these pans, which these pans are rather easy. They're more neutral day-to-day types of shades, so it wasn't too hard in fact using all of these pans. And as you can see, I did create some really beautiful looks with this. I really love BH Cosmetics eyeshadow formula, especially in their 16 pan palettes like these. They are so soft and creamy, and their metallic shades are really blinding and metallic, and they give you that pack and that punch on the eye that we are all looking for, I feel. And it is just a gorgeous everyday, day-to-day type of staple palette. I would definitely consider having this as possibly an option for my next year's 2021 Pan That palette. I'm so excited to sit down and announce what my Pan That palette's going to be for the new year. I am doing posts over on my Instagram coming soon. Definitely think I would like to make this as one of the options for you guys to vote on, because it is everyday, day-to-day, just great type of palette where I don't feel I would get bored with it. It does have some pops of color in there as well, and these shimmers in here are just to die for. I definitely didn't have any problem in using every pan in here. I was really glad that I was able to reach for this and use every pan and create some really beautiful looks with this. For week 2, it randomly chose my Dominique Cosmetics Rustic Glam palette. And this is just a really extremely beautiful color story, kind of like maybe springtime type of vibes maybe. And I did in fact use all 12 of these pans in here. So for the first 2 weeks I did manage to use all the pans. This is just a really gorgeous color story. I love how unique and different this is. You have your pops of blue, you have some bright deep color purple here, you have beautiful pink, you have some warm tones down here, and as you can see from some of the looks that I created, it is just a beautiful look. The one look I created, I used the orange with that shade Wanderlust right there, and it just was such a beautiful look. I really enjoyed my makeup that day. Dominique Cosmetics formula is to die for. Her matte formula is incredible. It is so buttery smooth. I mean, it literally feels like butter, and it is just an all-around one of my top 3 favorite eyeshadow formulas, I want to say. In matte formula for sure. There was only 12 shades in here. It definitely wasn't a problem. This was before my new job started. On the 3rd week's palette, I ended up starting my new job, and that's where things kind of fell off a little bit, but I was able to use every pan in this palette, and I was really glad to get some good use out of her again as well, which I've definitely gotten some really good use out of this, especially when I first purchased it. And I like how a lot of her shades are multi-purpose. Like, you can use the shade Free Spirit to set your concealer or to kind of clean up your contour, and she has her more brown shades you can use as contour or bronzer even, and you can even use her pink shades as like a real pretty blush, which this would actually be real pretty with today's eye look I have. And the pans are big enough to where you can dip your brush in there. I really like the way she multi-purposes her eyeshadows. Here's what she looks like. I'm just glad that I was able to reach for this. I'm always glad when any type of project I'm able to reach for things that haven't been reached for in a while. You guys know this. And then for week 3, I was randomly selected my Ccolor Cosmetics Obsessed 4 palette, which is just a very beautiful, bright, colorful little 9-pan palette. And this is an exact replica for the Huda Beauty's Electric Obsessions palette, exact dupe. I used 4 out of the 9 pot pans in here, so I have 5 left to go, and then I will have hit all the pans in here. So I literally hit actually 32 pans out of the 37, leaving 5 left, so that's not too bad. I have 5 left to hit. I am going to try to in fact use the last 5 remaining shades in here before I actually post this video. So while I'm editing this video, if I can in fact reach for these 5 pans, I will be sure to insert a screenshot of some sort showing you, and of course any looks that I have done with this, I will be sure to insert those as well, so you can see the looks that I created with the couple shades that I did use in here. It it is a really good formula. It's not that the formula is bad or anything. Again, I started this new job and I'm still trying to adjust to the new schedule. It's a tough one, but it's a great, colorful little mini palette. These are ideal for traveling. If you want to travel with a small pan palette like this, or if you are trying to branch into using some color a little bit, I recommend these because they are extremely affordable as well. So I really do highly recommend any of Ccolor Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes for sure. And then on the 4th week of the month, you are supposed to then create a look with all 3 palettes combined, which I have not been able to, as of now, sit down and do a look with all 3 of these palettes. But in the process of editing this video, before this video goes up, if I was able to in fact do a look with all 3 of these, I will definitely be sure to insert some looks so that you can see it. I usually have the look on when I film this update, but just wasn't able to get around to it this past month, and you'll have that. It's not a big deal. So I'm really going to try to still, in fact, do a look with all 3 of these palettes, just because of the OCD in me will not leave it alone. I'm pretty positive that there will be some looks on the screen for you guys to see, in fact, a look with all 3 of these palettes combined. So now it's on to picking 3 new palettes for this next month on this project, which is my favorite part of this project. I was going to sit down and finish entering all my palettes into my Tiny Decisions app, but for the sake of timing and so I don't lose daylight, I just went ahead and decided to just go ahead and put the numbers 1 to 159 into my pretty random app instead. And again, if it happens to choose a number or a palette that was already chosen, then I will just go down 1 so it doesn't pick the same palette that might have been in this project already, until I ever get around to, in fact, putting the rest of my eyeshadow palettes in my Tiny Decisions app. Number 80, number 2, and number 66. Okay, so I have the 3 numbers drawn. Now I'm going to take you guys with me to the inventory in the next slide, and we will pick these 3 palettes. Okay, so here we are at the inventory. Let me go ahead and scroll down to number 80, which was the first number that was randomly drawn. Number 80 is, as you can see here is the count according to my inventory, and then the number of palettes in my inventory, which number 80 is my BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Ibiza palette. And then the next number was number 2. So let's go ahead and scroll back up to the top. Number 2 is my Pat McGrath Platinum Bronze palette. The last number was number 66. So let's go ahead and scroll down. Number 66 is my Ccolor Cosmetics Seaside palette. Okay, I'm back and I went and grabbed those 3 palettes. So let's go ahead and quickly go over these 3 palettes and we will wrap this video up. Starting with the first week, as you saw, it randomly drew my BH Cosmetics Take Me to Ibiza palette. This palette is really, really pretty, you guys. So I'm really glad that it actually chose this palette because it's been ages since I've used this. I think this was one of the last purchases that I bought in 2019 before going on my no buy that I'm currently on and have been on for a year now. This is one of the last purchases that I made, and I have gotten some good use out of this earlier on when I first purchased it. So it's definitely been a while since I have reached for or used this palette. It is definitely gorgeous. Just look at the beautiful colors in here. Lots of color variation. There is a total of 35 pans in here for no pan left behind. So that's going to be a challenge, especially with the new job I have. We shall see if I will in fact be able to use all 35 pans in here. As you can see, I'm definitely going to swatch out some of these shades, just how beautiful and creamy these shades are. There are some really beautiful duochromes in here, I want to say. And then we have the nice icy white down here below, which you can use as an inner corner. You can use this as a highlighter, and there are your 2 neutral, just everyday transition colors that you can use down here. And I appreciate that they made those a little bit bigger since we tend to use up our transition colors first. This is just a really great palette with lots of color variation, beautiful shimmers in here, and I'm excited to reach for this and get some good use out of this again and see how many looks I can do do with this and if I can use all 35 pans in here. It's going to be really interesting. This middle row right here, this blue row, is like one of my favorite rows. I also really like the row next to it because it has that duochrome that I swatched for you guys. If I just kind of go by row, I think I can really create some unique looks with this, even just by rows like that. Especially this last row with the bright pop of yellow here, and there's just a lot of gorgeous shimmers in here. Definitely curious to see if I am in fact able to hit even close to the 35 pans. If I can use all 35 pans in here, I will be so proud of myself. All will tell in time. And then for the second week, it chose my Pat McGrath Platinum Bronze palette, which this is such a beautiful, beautiful, just cool tone bronze, deep dark palette, and it only has 6 shades in here, so this definitely will not be a problem to use. In fact, all 6 of these shades, they are extremely pigmented. I have done a look with this, and Pat McGrath's mattes and her formula is just literally out of this world. I kind of like how they match my nails a little bit, but as you can see from some of those swatches, just how pigmented those metallics are of hers. I'm glad that it was chosen to really kind of help me reach for and get some more use out of this, because it is such a beautiful color story and it's Pat McGrath, so we got to use up our more expensive products for sure, because these are the products that we spend the most money on, so therefore we would want to get our money's worth out of the ones that are more expensive, even though this was gifted to me from my husband, but still, it's just absolutely beautiful, and I shouldn't have any problem in using all 6 of these shades. And then for the third week of the month, it chose my Ccolor Cosmetics Seaside palette, which is an exact replica for the Urban Decay Beach palette, which I don't think they make that palette no more. I want to say they discontinued it, but this is an exact replica of that palette. If I can find an image of the Urban Decay Beach palette, I will insert it so you can see side-by-side comparison just how identical that these are, which Ccolor Cosmetics is known for making exact replicas of more expensive brands palettes so that everybody can kind of get a feel for the color stories. Granted, the formula is not the same as the higher end brands, but the color story and the concept of the palette is very similar. This was actually drawn in my throwing shade project before I started it with the No Pan Left Behind. But since I've decided to restart the project with No Pan Left Behind is why I am able to now draw this again, because I want to say I didn't even use it but maybe one time the first time around. So this time it will give me a better chance to really use all of the shades in here for No Pan Left Behind. There are 8 shades in here in total. It shouldn't be too difficult in using all 8 of these shades. And as you can see from some of the swatches, those shimmers and metallics are quite creamy and very emollient. You can see they're very opaque. They're very rich and creamy, and it is mainly a shimmer palette. The only matte shade in here is in fact the middle shade. That will be interesting to see. But on the 4th week, when I go to use all 3 palettes, I can still use this in conjunction with any of the other 2 palettes as well. So hopefully that will help me to also get some good use out of this. I'm rather hopeful and excited to see how well I do on using all of these pans, or all the pans in general, for all of these palettes for this month's rotation. In total, again, if I haven't mentioned it, I have 49 pans in total for this month's round of palettes, which again, we have week 1, the Take Me Back to Ibiza from BH Cosmetics. Week 2 is the Pat McGrath Platinum Bronze, and week 3 is my Ccolor Cosmetics Seaside palette, giving me a total of 49 pans. We shall see, you guys. I'm rather hopeful to at least get 40 of the 49 pans done and used. That way I can really get a better feel for my eyeshadow palettes, which is why I wanted to do the No Pan Left Behind with this project, to really help me to use every single pan in every palette. I know there's going to be some months where it's not going to be realistic. I'm not going to be able to use all the pans, so I don't want to be so hard on myself or feel like I am letting myself down or you guys down if there is in fact months where I can't use all the pans. It's just for fun, just a good way to kind of help me to get more use out of the entire palette that I have in for that month. That's basically everything for this update, you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by, and please, of course, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and leave a comment down below. And until my next video, everybody enjoy the rest of their day. Bye.